Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I've had a few weeks off to sort of chill and get ready for, the upcoming year ahead. Well, in terms of WWE video game content. And today's an exciting day. It's our first ever video discussing WWE 2K25. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I've talked about this a million times over the years, and I feel like every time people get upset, and I still don't understand why. I understand why, but I wish that there was a bit more understanding from a select group of people's part. I don't think it's controversial at this point. I think it's common sense that 2K25 needs to be scrapped for PS4 and Xbox One. I've discussed this many times over the years, and here we are. It's 2024. 4 years since the PS5 and Series X and S released, and by the time 2K25 comes out, it would have been 4.5 years, almost 4 years, 4 months, something like that. I'll stress this point 1,000,000 times. The PS4 and the Xbox One released in 2013, and at the time were extremely outdated pieces of hardware. How and why are we still releasing games on them 11 years later? Now you're probably wondering, well, what does it matter? Well, the game evidently is being held back. I'll use 2K22 as an example here. That was the first game that released on the next-gen consoles, and it was the first game from WWE 2K in 2.5 years, I believe, since they took a little bit of time off after 2K20, because we all know how that turned out. So in WWE 2K22, the game on the next gen looked incredible versus what we had seen recently. Wow, these next gen graphics are awesome, right? No, absolutely not. Let's roll back a second here, and the PS4 version of 2K22 looks identical. Like, there are barely any differences. I've noticed over the last couple of games though that the games on the last gen have gotten less quality. I don't know if 2K are doing that on purpose, because I haven't seen a higher quality graphical improvement on the next gen version, so I don't know what's going on there. But 2K22 is just a great example of, look at what we were missing out on for years on the PS4 and Xbox One, with 2K admittedly being oblivious to what the fans were saying. We wanted something fresh, new, and they kept, putting out the same stuff every year, and it ended in tears with 2K20. We were robbed of these incredible graphics that, in theory, we could have been seeing, from 2015 onwards, let's be a little bit fair and give them a few years to get up to speed. Oh, but the next gen has ray tracing. It's not being held back. It's not ray tracing. We've been over this a million times. It's screen space reflections. Look it up. It could have ray tracing. The power is in these consoles to do ray tracing. 2K just aren't doing it because they're too busy working on other projects for last gen consoles. Now, I understand, I probably should have said this at the beginning, I understand there are some people who, especially right now, especially in Australia, where I'm from, the cost of living is, oh man, tell me about it. Whether you're younger and your parents can't afford it, or you can't afford it, whatever it is, I understand these new consoles are very, very expensive. I get that, okay? In my point of view, if I was in that position where getting a new console just didn't make any sense for me in my point in time right now in my life, I'd be happy playing 2K22, 23, 24, the same game, and not getting the new ones, so I could view and enjoy the experiences of other people enjoying the newer games on the next gen, the newer, more advanced, new engine, more people in the ring, all these possibilities with this hardware that's being hardly utilized whatsoever. As I said, we were robbed of these incredible graphics forever on PS4 and Xbox One. As an example, Batman Arkham Knight. At the time, I was really looking forward to that game when it was coming out. And there was no way I was getting an Xbox One to play it, or a PS4. And I was devastated when that game wasn't coming out on the new consoles. But the difference to me is that this is a yearly release. Okay? Batman Arkham Knight, I think it launched terribly and it wasn't a very good game in the end. But it was a sequel to one of my favourite games ever. So I was devastated. But again, yearly release, we can only improve when we cut off, something that probably is holding us back. Again, I've said it 4 times now. Not shitting on anyone. I understand if you don't agree with me, but I hope you can agree or understand my point as well. And I believe if I were in the shoes of someone who didn't have a PS5, because I'm not lucky, I would enjoy seeing the new console's gameplay of a properly new game. You know, for example, when I found out that 2K15 was launching on Xbox One and PS4, and what appeared to be a cut and paste version on 360 and PS3, I was not too annoyed. I was like, okay, it's probably nearly time for me to get that very lucky Christmas present. You know, that'll be in a year's time. I think it was that year, actually, in 2014. But in the few months that 2K15 came out on the next-gen consoles at the time, I was enjoying the hell out of watching people play the game. I was like, wow, this is different, this is cool. You know, that's what I felt back then. So I'm hoping people can understand my point of view, even if they don't agree with it. I don't know. It might not be necessarily graphics that we're being robbed of, and texture quality, but we're definitely being robbed of, you know, the power it can do. Imagine like you could have a Royal Rumble with like 16 people in the ring. It sounds stupid and crazy. There are settings in games, you can turn that off if you don't want to have that madness going on, but it's possible. Like, the hardware can handle it. Let's look back to, let's look at the last gen, or the last generation interlap or overlap. That probably makes more sense. Xbox 360 and PS3 versus PS4 and Xbox One. 2K15 was the first game that released on those Xbox One and PS4. Whilst the 2K15 did still release on PS3 and Xbox 360, it was a different version of the game. What I mean by that is, I don't think it was necessarily a new engine that 2K built, but it was 2K's first proper game, 2K15. They didn't really have any hand in 2K14. Greatest WWE game of all time, by the way. So 2K15 on the next gen had a fresh feel, fresh look, and it was a different, it had My Career, it had Showcase. 2K15 on last gen did have Showcase, didn't have My Career, and looked the exact same, played the exact same, felt the exact same as 2K14. I'm okay with this, you know. As long as we're still developing the next generation, I'm completely okay with that. But we're not doing that right now, okay? We're getting things that probably should have been in the game 6 years ago, still added, like special ref mode, and not getting cool things that these consoles can handle. I mean, look at, like, as I said, use as an example, imagine 16 people in a ring at once. Imagine 5-on-5 war games. You know, there's a lot of possibilities here. Imagine finally, for the first time in WWE games history, a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. It's never happened before. How? You know, whilst not really a thing anymore, one of the most traditional matches in WWE. We've never got it in the video game. And we finally have this magical hardware that can do these sort of things for us, albeit they're expensive, but like, man, you know? And the last game released on Xbox 360 and PS3 was 2K17, I believe, and again, that was still a cut and paste 2K14 with updated attires and that sort of thing, and maybe some new guys. AJ Styles would have been in that game. And you also have to, like, look back as well, you know, the Xbox One and PS4, again, were underpowered back then. When they released, they were underpowered consoles, okay? 11 years later, your phone is more powerful than that console, potentially. Like, it's crazy. And at that time, it was so underpowered that you could build a better PC, and because of how parts and how, you know, things change, of course, but at that time, you could build a better PC for cheaper than those consoles. Right now, whilst they're expensive, PS5 and Xbox Series X are a great deal for a gaming machine. You can't build anything like that for $1,000 Australian, but for $1,000, that's crazy, right? Like, it's mind-boggling to me that we're still investing in these old games. I mean, Call of Duty gave up after Black Ops 3, and they didn't even make that. They didn't even make Black Ops 3 on 360 and PS3. They got someone to port it, like, and we saw how that turned out. And that was 2015. Black Ops 3 came out. That's 2 years, and then after that they were done. 2K17, yeah, is a 2016 game, 3 years after the launch of the new consoles, and finally they gave it up. But again, that game was a copy and paste of the last game, and the game before that, and the game before that. We are still, I can stress this a million times, We're not adding anything new that enhances the user experience on the new consoles. As I said, the games are starting to look really weird quality, like bad in quality, on Xbox One and PS4, and again, it feels like 2K might be doing that on purpose. I don't know. So yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on it. Like, I want to see more cool shit added, and not stuff that, you know, we could have seen ages ago. I like Special Ref, and I'm glad it's back, but should have never left. And now that it's back, cool. What can we do with this cool hardware that we've got? And I know a lot of it is because the market is still there. Undisputably, the market is still there because of these consoles are expensive, and a lot of people are still trying to pay their bills every month right now, and I get that. But maybe can we at least take the approach of how we did on the last cycle? Copy and paste the same game for a few years. So I think a lot of it is people just like buying the new game. People like the newer tires, the new characters. Maybe a generic career mode like 2K16, 17 had. These are just ideas. I'm just throwing out ideas here. Like, there are ways to still benefit your active player base on the last gen consoles, but also benefit your active player bases on the next gens that have spent all this money to get a better looking version of this game. No real upgrades. So yeah, again, if you're someone who is not fortunate enough to be able to have one of these newer consoles, completely understand. And I'm not shitting on you or your family or whatever it might be. The reason that's holding you back. Maybe you just simply don't want to because of this reason. You know, people aren't upgrading because there's no incentive. It looks a little bit better, okay, and like there are reasons here as to why people aren't doing it. And you know, I don't know what the player base is like. I do know though there are a lot of PS5s and Xbox Series X's in circulation. I believe in 4 years they've sold more PS5s and Xbox Series X's than they had by 2017, if that makes sense. So there are a lot of people with these consoles. It's just a shame of the player base. The game devs not wanting to, or the companies, sorry, like 2K and Activision, not wanting to commit to, you know, stepping up to the next gen. Because, I mean, we've had the same engine as well for how long? You know, it's not even the hardware that's holding it back. It's just 2K not wanting to build a new engine. And I can guarantee you, if they build a new engine properly, they've said they've built a new engine a million times. It's the same engine. That they will not release on PS4 and Xbox One. But I think we're a long ways away from that. You know, we're probably not going to get a new engine until PS6 Pro at this point. But yeah, again, not shitting on anybody. I understand if you don't agree with me, and I understand if you don't, simply just don't want to upgrade at this point, and it makes sense. But I hope you can see my point of view as well. As I said, maybe I don't get it. Maybe I don't get it because I'm fortunate to have a PS5. I'm fortunate to have a Series X, so maybe I don't understand what it's like, you know. I'm going to stop talking because I'm probably making people mad. Every time I talk about this, people get very annoyed. Sorry. More 2K25 videos coming soon. Who do you want to see on the cover? Let me know down below if you made it this far. Thank you for watching. See you later.